First story. Ex-friend 34F asked me 35M about our relationship over 10 years ago. How to respond? The author of the post is listed in the description, so this will be a weird one. I made a throwaway for it, as I think this is a pretty unique situation that the person in question could very easily figure out is about them, and I don't want them knowing my main. If they even use Reddit. I, 35M, am happily married with 2 children. My wife, 32F, and I have been together for 8 years, married for 4. We were out shopping in our hometown when we ran into my ex-friend, her parents, and her children. She moved out of state over 10 years ago, and I haven't seen her since, nor have we had any contact other than Facebook happy birthday wishes. She is married with 2 kids of her own. Anyway, on to the situation. My file and her father are friendly with each other. Both retired military and occasionally have breakfast together with their other retired friends. When we ran into each other, ex-friends, Dad congratulated my wife and I. We figured my FIL told him we're expecting our 3rd child. I saw my ex-friend look at my wife's belly and then acted distant for the rest of the exchange, whereas she was friendly starting off. We trade pleasantries and say goodbye. My wife and I continue about our shopping. By the time we're done, I check my phone and see I have a Facebook message from ex-friend. XF. It was good to see you again. Me. You too? The family looks good. XF. Yours too? Would you want to grab coffee and catch up? I'm in town for a couple more days. Me. We're actually pretty busy, otherwise I would be down. I'm sorry. XF, I understand. Adulting, can I ask you a question? Me. Sure, what's up? XF. Was I just not your type? Me. What do you mean, XF? I'm asking what did I do wrong? Me didn't respond, as this was out of nowhere, XF. I pursued you for years. We were inseparable for years, and you never gave us a real chance. I loved you. Our families loved us. Our friends loved us together. You just never committed all the way to us. You wouldn't even have sex with me, and I need to know why. Was I not good enough? Could you not see yourself married to me and having a family together? I didn't respond, and I showed the messages to my wife. She knows of this girl, and my reasoning for her and I growing apart, mostly because we see her family everywhere, and she asked. My wife told me to be honest with her, but I'm not sure if that's right. It feels mean. I'm going to give my POV on our friendship, and I'm hoping I can get some advice on where to go from here. Basically, she and I met through friends in high school. I was very interested, but she was dating someone at the time. She ended up asking me out a month or so later, and we went on dates and kissed a few times, though we never had the conversation on being official, hence me calling her friend and not girlfriend. One night while riding in the car, her, who I thought was ex-BF, called her and asked when she'd be over. She didn't have it on speaker, but I could still hear the conversation. She told him, I can't talk right now, and he asked who she's with. She didn't tell him. He later figured it out and messaged me on Facebook asking if I knew they were still together. I apologized and said I didn't and would cut things off. I called her and she started crying, saying she didn't have the courage to tell me they were still together, but she liked me so much and was going to break up with him. I cut her off anyway. Fast forward a few more months and she reaches out and we go through the same motions. Her wanting to be with me, but always having another guy messaging her that I would catch out of the corner of my eye. This lasted, embarrassingly, years. Throughout college and our early 20s, it was always the same. She'd reach out, we'd reconnect, and things begin getting serious again. I'd check her social media and see she just broke up with someone. We even went on vacation to the mountains together for a weekend, and the same thing. She had literally just been there a month ago with her ex. The trip with me was her idea. The worst part is both our families really did love us together. My parents were never rude to my girlfriends, but would ask me how XF is doing these days, or snide remarks about how her parents miss me. Hell, even my now FIL at one point mentioned that X's dad brought up how he really thought I'd be his son one day. I confided in my friends years ago that I'm always just a rebound or backup plan, and that's why I could never commit or get more physical with her. They told me to just sleep with her when she comes calling and don't pursue anything more. The problem was I wanted more but felt used. Anyways, every time we would plan things out where sex was more than likely on the table, I'd see a guy message her or I'd see a post on social media and it just killed my enthusiasm. When I say that, I mean literally. It crushed my confidence every single time. One of my best friends told me I didn't have to pay attention to all that and could have just had my fun with her. Didn't mean I had to chase a relationship with her knowing I was always a rebound. That felt shitty to me. I had other girlfriends here and there, but I wanted this girl. We just clicked, you know? But it's like some sort of goddamn mystical being was showing me a sign every single time things were going to progress our relationship. I just didn't want her to be getting over someone else or having someone on back burner when we'd reconnect. Maybe that's my own insecurity, but I know how I felt and it didn't feel good. So I slowly distanced myself. After a short amount of time passed, I met my wife. She met her husband and our lives moved on with little to no contact until the other day. I haven't responded to the message and it's been 2 days. I was thinking of just lying and saying it's not her fault or just not responding, but my wife is insisting I tell her the whole thing. I know this is a word wall, but I'm honestly conflicted. I told my wife I was going to ask others for their opinion, and I'm considering the internet as my others. Comments. Commenter, OP. She is doing exactly the same thing she always did with you. I would bet all the cash in my wallet if you were able to look into her life, her marriage is crumbling or her husband isn't paying enough attention to her. You were the great white whale that got away, and she is trying to test the water to see if you're down to do the same old song and dance. Now, even more of a challenge since you have a happy family and marriage. Don't engage with her. This sounds exactly like the same cycle you described from your young adulthood. Commenter. My worry is that despite it being pretty transparent why things never went anywhere, she is still framing it as if it's some mystery or she wasn't good enough or whatever a decade later. This isn't about closure. This is just her being insecure. And realistically, that was probably always it. Leading on multiple guys at all times, that's what people that live for validation and a sense of control do. She was never able to earnestly pursue you. She had to have other things going on. And the fact that she can't admit that is a big old red flag in my eyes. I don't think it is worth getting dragged into her games again. You know how after every breakup she'd limp over to you for a sprinkle of good vibes and a distraction? This is still that, just in a different form. This is still coming back to you for that validation. And if you are honest to her, what even comes of that, she just acts more sad that she messed it up, and suddenly you start seeing her coincidentally everywhere as she slowly tries to win you back or whatever. This was already a pretty gross play as is, so in my eyes, you ought to just deflect. Hey, never really worked out is what it is. We both met people and that was obviously for the best. Don't take it personally. I hope with that you have some closure as I won't be talking about it further. I've told friends exactly that we just weren't compatible, which they find hard to believe as we shared so many interests, hobbies, pet peeves, etc. I will add that I was always the one to pull away whenever I saw the aforementioned signs. Nor did she try to establish a relationship with me when I was seeing other people. Other than the first interaction with her high school BF, she's always been single when reconnecting. Maybe freshly single, but single nonetheless. So I can't call her disrespectful. Maybe she had other parties interested in her as well, but she didn't know my situation until we reconnected again? Who knows? All I know is it was at least 3 times we started seeing each other again, and I'd see a man's name come up in text, and she'd get a huge smile on her face. That was more than enough for me to start distancing again. Update. 5 days later. Thank you everyone for responses. I decided to listen to the majority and responded to ex-friend A. The response was well received and we chatted the rest of the week and met up on the weekend before Easter. The short of it is we're both leaving our partners. A and I are going to try this relationship again now that we've completely opened up to each other about our true feelings. Thank you all for the encouragement to do this. Couldn't have done it without you. April Fools. I would never. The real update is pretty anticlimactic, unfortunately. I ended up just never responding to A. It had already been 5 days by the time I read through every response and decided to just let it go. My wife was fine with that, but told me to block her if she messages again. We did a couple Easter egg hunts with different family members yesterday, including at my FIL's. They have a decent-sized property and host quite a few people, so I wasn't surprised to see non-family members. I was, however, surprised when A's parents were there with her children. After all the adults scattered and hid the eggs and the kids started their search, A's dad came over to chat with me. Nothing out of the ordinary, and we shot the shit for a few minutes. Towards the end, I asked if the kids were staying with them for Easter, and he basically told me A and her husband were having some troubles and they needed some time alone to sort things out. He didn't go into specifics, so I don't know exactly what troubles are, but congratulations to those of you who called that one. For now, this should conclude the story. If she does happen to reach out again and I feel it's worth letting you all know what it says, then I will. Otherwise, thanks again. Comments. Commenter. I appreciate the update. You were right not to bother responding to her. Someone that incapable of introspection, so much so that she refused to see how problematic and toxic her treatment of you was. She hasn't changed or grown or matured at all. I hope you and your wife have a lovely week, buddy. Commenter. He knows her better than she knows herself. Woman needs some therapy. Commenter. When I read your first post, I immediately thought, her marriage is on the rocks and/or she's seeking validation from OP once again. It's probably both. Also, in the comments of your first post, you say that she was never disrespectful and never pursued you when you were with someone else. Maybe not in the past, but she is super disrespectful now to your marriage, and to her own, to even approach you with these questions. You were a backup plan for her, and she thought you'd always be around if she needed someone. She's not concerned she wasn't good enough. She's never been concerned about that. She felt she could always count on you to be interested if she was bored, single, or in need of validation. That's not an insult to you. It just says a ton about her character. I think you dodged a huge bullet, and your instincts back in high school and beyond were spot on. Even if she meant no ill back in the day, reaching out to you now and asking you those inappropriate questions after seeing you with your pregnant wife is so gross and disrespectful. I think not responding was the right call. I know you don't want to be mean to her, but I think anything you said to her would have either been the ego stroke she was looking for, or would have made her think the door was open to continue messaging you, and maybe more. Some people don't need much encouragement, or they will take being shut down as encouragement. Your wife sounds great, BTW. She's a keeper. Congrats on the family. I've known people like this, both men and women, who always want someone on the back burner because they're scared of being alone, or they always think they're missing something better. They're not. And it's no slight to the people they do this to. It's an issue they need to work out in therapy or something. It's exhausting and immature, and it saddens me that she's got a whole family and is still at it. She sounds deeply insecure or deeply irrational. My wife is a wonderful woman. When we talked about it last night at home after the egg hunt, she had a few different opinions on A's reasoning. Her first thought was, maybe they're having fertility problems, her indifference to us expecting our third, and the fact she talked about having a family with me. Her second thought was basically the consensus. She wanted attention. Her third thought, which I also thought about, was maybe she was causing the problems in her marriage, and she wanted insight from people in her past why her relationships fail, perhaps hoping to do better in the present or future relationships. This is all speculation. I showed her this update post when I got home from work earlier, and she added that she was also curious to know what A's response would have been had I responded. I told her I had no interest in a response. I have no interest in any of this. I'm glad for the people that sided with me on not answering, and I think it will eventually turn out to be the best option. Second story, Aita for dumping my GF after moving in with her. I, 25M, moved in with my GF 24F of 4 years, 3 weeks ago. She chose the place, and although her name is on the lease, I paid half of the deposit and paid the first month of rent as she couldn't afford it. I also paid the first month of bills. She works part-time and has some savings she used to furniture the place according to her taste, despite my objections. I felt she overspent and the money could have been better spent on other things. She had a few friends over on Monday when I came home. She had ordered food, and as I normally come home from work at 5, she was surprised to see me there an hour earlier. They were a little drunk, and one of her friends made strange comments, which I thought nothing of due to the alcohol, as I went to the bathroom to shower. When I came out from the shower, her other friends and sister was quoting me poetry that I had written to my GF, and was quite handsy. I found it odd and asked her where she had heard that. She goes, "We just read your love letters to her before watching a movie." My GF was laughing with them. Her sister made a remark about how she wanted me to do her the way I do her sister because she had never felt that way. I was furious, but due to her drunkenness, thought it impossible to talk to her. I left for my mother's house. On Tuesday, she called me 17 times, but I ignored it. She also sent many texts wanting to know why I wasn't home. On Wednesday, I told her in person how hurt I was for her sharing my intimate letters with her friends and for oversharing what we do in private. She said, "Relax, it was a joke and nobody got hurt." She said the girls were impressed with me and that is why they got a little handsy. She said once I gave her the letters, they were hers to share with whom she pleased. So I told her that I am my own person and can make the decision to not share more of myself with her. Today she came to my mother's apologizing. She wanted me to come back and talk it out with her. I told her no, and that we were through. She wouldn't leave, so I drove to my father's place where I am now. She kept texting me and telling me that I should be ashamed of myself for leaving her like that. She got her friends and sister to apologize to me, and they told me to quit playing games and go home now that they had apologized. I told them I was home, and that as my name was not on the lease and I wasn't respected as an equal in her home, I no longer wanted to be with her. Luckily for me, I hadn't moved most of my stuff there. She kept phoning and texting, and I blocked her. She then made a mutual male friend of ours contact me and tell me that I was being a bitch about it. So I blocked him too. Then his GF texted me and told me not to take things out or proportion. I am almost certain I did the right thing, but maybe I should talk it out with her before cutting all contact. Comments. Commenter. Nobody got hurt, odd. She said that after you explicitly said it hurt you. Also don't love when people rope their friends into internal relationship disputes. Personally, I wouldn't want to sign up for a life of this, so NTA. Commenter. Nah, she was just being honest. She just thinks OP is nobody to her. That she called him a bitch while trying to win him back was the final nail in the coffin. Update, 3 days later. After reading a lot of the advice here and talking it out with my family and friends, it seems it's best to not continue my relationship. I haven't contacted her directly, but I went with my brother and my friend while she went to visit her parents. Pre-booked trip. I collected my things and gave my brother the key to give to her Friday evening. She wouldn't take it from him as she wanted me to return it. My brother told her there was zero chance of that happening because of the TikTok post she had on her account going into more details about what was in the letters from me, including her mentioning my sister by name and her miscarriages. This forced my sister to tell my mother about it, even though it brought up a lot of trauma for her. At the moment, my sister is not talking to me because she felt I shouldn't have shared that with anyone. I agree. It was a violation on my part, even though I was looking for emotional support from my GF. My ex took down the post in hopes of getting me to meet with her. When she realized that wouldn't happen, she put up another one telling her side of the story. There were several parts, and in it she was looking for the letters to show her followers, but I knew where she kept them and took them while I went to collect my stuff. I burnt all of them. I won't be writing letters to any new romantic partners anytime soon. Her sister has been to my mother's a few times, trying to get me to help out with the rent. As according to my ex's reasoning, if I hadn't agreed to pay for the rent, she wouldn't have overspent on setting up her home the way she wanted. Even if she sells the stuff, she won't get the original price for it, so she feels it's my fault for making her lose money. She did contact the landlord, filmed for her TikTok viewers while she was on the phone to him, and he denied her breaking the lease without penalties. She has to pay the remainder of the months. I asked her for my deposit through my friend while he was on the loudspeaker to her so I could hear her side without having to speak, knowing full well I wouldn't get my part, but at least he tried. She called him a lot of names, then phoned him back and apologized because she wanted him to tell me to phone her so she could straighten out the misunderstanding, and we could get back together. She has now taken down all the posts about me. Don't know if she will upload them again once it dawns on her that we are through. She phoned my brother again to make me speak to her so she could explain, and he met her a few hours ago. He finally gave her the key as she was told either she could take it or we would return it to the landlord. He picked up a call from her an hour after he dropped off the keys. She wanted to talk to me and to forgive her as she had seen how she made a mistake and that it wouldn't happen again. She wanted me to return the love letters, but my brother told her they were burnt. She had a go at him, so my brother cut her off. She phoned back more apologetic and said what she had to do to make me go back. He asked her if she would be okay with me sharing her nudes and clips she has sent me with my male friends. He asked her this without okaying it with me first. She said she wouldn't be okay with it. I guess the double standard has completely turned me off, as she told my brother that if you receive something through a romantic relationship, then it stay between four eyes. It's not that she doesn't understand that what she did is wrong. It's that she expects me to be okay with it, as in her mind her feelings matter more in the relationship. She also thinks that me being taller and bigger than her shouldn't have felt threatened by her friends or sisters, as I was not really in harm's way. He then blocked her as she phoned him several times over and left him crying messages and then some angry messages to delete her nudes. Her sister left an angry message with the friend that helped me with asking for the deposit, and she threatened him that if I ever leaked her nudes, I wouldn't live to regret it. She told him to pass on the message to me that there is something she is very insecure about sharing about her body, and she doesn't want me to share that without her consent. I am getting a new number, as I can do so with my current payment plan. I am going forward from this and hoping that I make better decisions in the future. Comments. Commenter. Her double standards and that of her sister are seriously disgusting. You got rid of a cancer in your life, bro. Forward and upward. Commenter. I'm sorry that happened to you. Please don't stop being the sweet, emotionally available man you are. Don't let a few hood rats ruin it for the rest of women. You are going to find someone that appreciates your effort and keeps your heart safe. Good luck, and for God's sakes, tell your family to stop taking her calls. Oop. They have already blocked her. But her sister and her turned up at my mother's. My mother won't open the door to them anymore, as she finds it quite harassing. Oop on his sister. I gave her a real apology. She accepted it, but needs a small break from me to get her thoughts sorted out. She said I can still pick up my niece when I want to. Don't worry about me and my sister. We are okay. She is more upset about it making it to TikTok. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.